Namaskar, I am Dr. K. Aggarwal. Welcome to our weekly show, a webcast on one particular issue. Today we are discussing on organ transplant. We'll try to remove some of the myths. Why we are taking this issue again and again? Because organ transplant we need to promote at the IMA level. There is no reason why in India people still die of cardiac failure, renal failure, or with blindness when lots of organs and tissues are available in the circulation. Let's talk about it. We have with us Dr. Anil Aggarwal, who is an expert in this field. He is the director, professor and head GI surgery at Delhi-based GB Pant Hospital. He is also the chairman of Delhi Organ Transplant Cell. Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
And we also have with us Dr. R.M. Tandon, the Secretary General of Indian Medical Association. Both of us will be interacting with Dr. Anil Aggarwal and will try to come back at the end 10 points which every doctor must know about organ transplant. Anil, we know they are to clarify the doctors. Always there is a confusion, death versus brainstem death. We know brainstem death is death.
Yes.
We know that. And we also know that for the purpose of patients, we can call them as brain death or cardiac death.
Absolutely.
For the purpose of the patients. So cardiac death means you can donate the whole body or the cornea.
Right.
And you can donate some other tissues.
Right.
But if there is a brain death, yes, solid organs can be donated.
Absolutely.
So first of all, my first formal thing is, maximum time a dispute comes amongst the doctors and the hospitals. They are not declaring the patient dead, they want to make money. So therefore, how to declare brain death?
Actually, Joe, what you said, the issue, this comes that they are not declaring. On the other hand, it's the reverse way also that people may blame. Like it depends on whether it's a government institute or a private institute and whether the patient's relatives are paying. But what we need to understand from, as you started, brainstem death is one way of death and cardiac death. Both are death. There is no ambiguity about it. World over, brainstem death was recognized as death, whereas in India, prior to 1994, it was not recognized as death. So people used to wait till the cardiac activity stopped. And as you rightly said, that when the transplant, solid organ transplant, cannot happen so much, we'll come to later on that in some situations you can, like the DCD, donation after cardiac death. But when you have brainstem death, the heart is pumping blood. So all the tissues are being perfused. So when you take out that organ, it can be implanted into a needy person who is otherwise dying because of, as you said, liver failure or renal failure and things like that. So I think it is important to understand that when there is brainstem death, it is death. And also because so that people may not have this, that you have declared brainstem death, because there are questions raised both ways. The Indian law clearly defines that brainstem death has to be certified by 4 doctors who are not part of the transplant team. And like in several countries in the world, there is 2 doctors and probably 2 hours or somewhere it is not defined how much period of time, but depending on the age group you define. So among the 4 doctors, the first and the fourth are the doctor administrator of the hospital and the doctor in charge of that patient before he was declared brainstem death. And number 2 and 3 are the neurologist, neurosurgeon or intensivist. And these are the people who will, there are several prescribed tests which are done, and only when you make sure, and Indian law has gone a step ahead to say that 6 hours minimum gap has to be there. Right. Though,
So I will come back. So now I want to spend some time on declaring brainstem death.
Right.
But before that, because we most of the time we don't believe in Vedic scriptures.
right.
If you read Chandogya Upanishad and if you read Prashanna Upanishad, these are the 2 Upanishads, 5,000 year old, written in the Vedic language. And they talk. They say our body has 5 different types of movements. So they say it's prana vayu, which is your anudan vayu. Both together it talks about respiration and brainstem reflexes. Okay. Apan vayu is expulsive movements, menstruation, urine and soup. Saman vayu is your GI movement, peristalsis. Esophageal, small intestinal, peristalsis is saman vayu. And Vyan vayu is circulatory. So it says, at the time of death, the prana vayu merges with udan vayu and leaves the body. The other 3 vayu will continue as long as you can maintain air circulation. So therefore, death.
And once the prana vayu is left,
the definition of a Vedic death is that prana vayu, udan vayu gone, patient is dead. You can continue saman vayu, vyan vayu and apan vayu as long as you want artificially. But prana vayu and so therefore there is a description available of brainstem death even in Vedic literature. They differentiate very clearly that you can have GI absorption, you can carry on the baby, you can have menstruation, you can have everything. It's well described in Chandogya Upanishad.
It's very nice that you have such good knowledge of Upanishads and you have very rightly put it, and I think just extrapolating on that, one can say that the brainstem death or that is death. And as you said, that body may go on for a little longer in terms of the heart pumping blood and the various activities that you talked about, but it is death.
There is no life.
There is no life.
The consciousness is gone.
It is all gone.
And
And also let me add another thing. It is not that it will go ad infinitum. What happens is, and this is what the world over, and we are kind of following what the world developed this, because to my mind this is the biggest development which has happened in medical science, to say that a going body or the body which is gone with that organ can give new life, new lease of life to somebody who's dying because of organ failure. So what happens is that invariably the heart will stop after the brainstem death has occurred. But it may go on in most cases for a few hours to maybe at the maximum maybe 2-3 days. Sometime maybe even longer, but if you leave the
but
exceptions
if the
apart.
pressure is on oxygenation, yes.
I was coming to that ECMO. Now,
Yes.
like as you said, now there are more advancement that if you wanted, you can artificially also keep pumping the heart, giving oxygenation. You are right. But what I'm just talking about is coming to the concept of organ donation and transplant, that once you declare brainstem death, it is inevitable that subsequently the heart is stopping unless you went to these artificial means. And you are utilizing this window of opportunity to retrieve that organ.
To save multiple lives.
And that is why, if you see, in fact, when we talk about the results of the organ donation after brainstem death or cardiac death, the sooner you are able to do that after certifying brainstem death, it is better. Because the longer it goes on, if the patient is on ventilator, all these, so chest infection or the upper respiratory tract infection, or
I want to come back. I want to come back to a very basic thing, because these are the team will take over. The transplant team comes, they take over. That is their responsibility. My concern is at a smaller hospital, at a nursing home level, 90% of our hospitals are smaller hospitals. They have ventilators. Most difficulty we face is declaring the patient dead. Getting 4 people's opinion is impossible. It's not easy. One of them says, let's wait. So we need to, all 4 of them need to be sensitized. Okay? Number 1. Number 2 is that naturopathy and yoga, okay, which are a different type of a science, and reflexology, which is not recognized in India, meridian therapy, and then Pandits. Now these are people are getting influence. So somebody will come back and put down, I'll make it. Because that's the time they want to make 50,000, 60,000, 20,000, the family will give. They don't want to admit. So they says, in your pathy it is not. He says, inki pathy mein koi ilaj nahi hai, but main reflexology se theek kar dunga. Okay. So doctor starts, this is a dispute which we are feeling. So A is that there has to be clear-cut protocol. Let me say, EEG, you say do an EEG, impossible. Impossible at every setup. In a major hospital, you will not be able to do. 3 minutes apnea test, We don't have a protocol. We don't have a standard protocol. Cow's test, that is cold opposite worm, same, which is caloric test. How reliable it is, I don't know. Invariably with cardiac massage, every patient is being given atropine, so I don't know pupillary reflexes, how reliable they are. What is a protocol which a simple hospital can do legally safe?
See, I'll tell you, there are very set protocols and there are well defined, not only national, international criteria that was followed. And like as you said, that in those cases, in some modes of death, the period is longer. Like in an infant, the closer it is, the newborn, it is said that till 24 hours, the time gap has to be at least 24 hours. So I think that gap changes. Similarly, drowning or some other sign which is sudden, there are times. I mean, you talked about various myths that people.
First of all, I want to know the protocol.
Yeah, I tell you. The protocol, because these are, apnea test is a significant part of it.
How do I do it?
Right? So that you will have to get the neurologist or a neurosurgeon or the intensivist.
How will they do it?
Who will do it?
No, talk about a village where physician is the neurologist.
See,
listen to me. In most of the in the nursing homes, the neurologist is also the physician, and neurosurgeon is the general surgeon. Intensivist is also a physician. There is no intensivist. So let's talk about if you want to promote. If I want to promote organ donation, then I want to simplify it. Neurosurgeon, neurophysician. See, for declaring a person dead, neurosurgeon, neurophysician, intensivist pays 6,000 rupees. Each one of them will come back and say, I want to check it on twice, so it becomes 12,000 rupees fees. Okay.
See,
so who bears that cost?
I'll tell you that certainly we have to go beyond in the sense that if you want to promote, we cannot have any laxity in the methodology of declaring brainstem death.
4 people
We
are
will follow
required.
the protocol.
I said you said 4 people are required,
I'm
fine.
just
But
coming
if
to that.
neurosurgeon is not
I'm
available.
just coming to that. If that is what also provision has been made, if the neurologist or neurosurgeon is there and intensivist. Another thing is that you can go beyond your own hospital. Delhi government is also trying that you have a panel of experts which are available, which can be called on. At the moment, what is happening is that some of the centers which do not have, they call on the help of where there is a brainstem death certification committee, because these category 2 and 3 doctors have to be empaneled by the appropriate authority, which for Delhi is the Secretary Health. Because on one hand you said that can we simplify?
No, again. Not you. We are confusing two things. One is for the purpose of organ transplant. Okay, I'm not going to go into that first. Every day we get a situation where there is no organ transplant required. Patient says, I don't want organ transplant.
Absolutely.
But we are facing the same problem because when to declare, how to declare.
See,
you are not going to call, those committee will not come from outside. They will say you are not getting a donation, we will not come.
See, I tell you, very rightly you have said that brainstem death is the first issue. That is irrespective of organ transplant or catheterization. You talk about brainstem death if a patient, as you said, that the person on the job there, whether it's an intensivist, whether it's a neurologist, whether it's a physician, he would clinically assess that the person is dead. Right? Then the next step would come wherein you call these experts to make sure beyond doubt, because as you rightly said that some of these signs or symptoms or examination
What will the expert do?
So that is what they have the entire protocol in which they will do that. Like they have the exact, they look at the apnea test in which they shut down ventilate for some time and then look at CO2.
CO2 is not available.
Yeah.
Most of the hospitals do not have a CO2 monitor.
See, the thing is that if some of the
I'm only trying to say is that what at our level, at IMA level, I'm raising these points at an IMA level. I would not have raised it if it was not an IMA platform.
It is very nice.
So my doctors are basically, I am telling you in the field level, I have never seen CO2 monitor in any hospital I work with. Okay, and if CO2 monitor is there, brainstem death declaration cost to the patient 25,000 rupees. In a corporate hospital, forget about it. In a smaller hospital, declaring brainstem death is a headache. So we need to have a simplified protocol. So so we need to come back and say 3 minutes apnea test. If it is CO2 monitor is required, it may not be easy.
See, I'll tell you that.
Or we make it compulsory. Or we make it compulsory.
I'm glad, as you said, that it has been made compulsory.
The CO2 monitor has to be there.
No, not CO2 monitor.
I'm talking about CO2 monitor.
Declaring brainstem death. And I mean, if IMA, as you said, that want to propagate that, then what can be done is, because we cannot have any laxity, as I said, again I'm repeating that, because the manner in which it has to be certified so that it is beyond doubt for our conviction, for public conviction, and for everybody who is involved with that. Because, and only once you declare brainstem death, then only you ask the family that are they willing to be donors. And brainstem death declaration has nothing to do with your organ donation or not organ donation. And as per the revised rules which came out in 2014, one thing that they have added is the required request, which means that once you have certified brainstem death, because a lot of time, because obviously the family is aggrieved at that time, and they are coming to terms with the loss, and doctor, if he goes, some of the people may kind of react in a manner that I'm losing my relative and you are asking for donation. So in the law it has been done required request, which means that the doctor is only doing his duty, and you are very much within your rights to say no. You say no, or you say yes. Right, so I think what IMA can do that,
what IMA is doing it, IMA started a campaign, and we are still failing in that campaign because the government is not supporting us.
In what way?
Our campaign is Puchna Mat Bhulo.
Right.
So our campaign name is Puchna Mat Bhulo.
Right.
We want this campaign to be supported by a state or the center, where this message goes to every resident in every ICU specialist and executive. Puchna mat bhulo. At the time of death, don't forget to ask, because at that particular moment the resident is in stress. Discharge assembly banani hai, ye karna hai, wo karna hai.
And by the time,
no. See, question is you have to go to it is a change in the behavior.
Right.
Law is fine.
Yeah.
Law is fine. Why law is not taking action?
Right.
Because they know that at that particular moment the patient is in stress, the doctor is in stress, the resident is in stress. वो जल्दी करो, ये करो, assembly बनानी है, इसका bill भेजो, इसका ये करो, उसको. By the time he forgets. So therefore we have started a campaign पूछना मत भूलो.
Right.
We know that पूछना नहीं भूलो is a crime, but we are saying a reminder. So at least the first campaign, 1 year, 2 year, पूछना मत भूलो. That it is your duty to ask, it is mandatory. So instead of putting this required request, we are saying pushna mat bhulo.
Well, it is the same.
I know, but that campaign we called it as a pushna mat bhulo. So we are doing that.
And as you rightly said that even when there is a cardiac death,
I only want you.
they can donate.
I only want you to help IMA is in the next 10 days formulate a committee, call an anesthetist, call a neurophysician, call a neurosurgeon of all GV1 hospital. We can come to your hospital. Let's sit together and come back and define how to declare brain death in a clinic. Clinic means in a small hospital. In a small hospital, in any way, patient will be on ventilator. Then only you are declaring brain death.
See, I'll tell you. I will in fact send you those documents.
Not
because
documents.
we have gone through the exercise of the methodology by which with pictures. I will send you that because
again I am saying the minimum requirement of equipment. Suppose those equipments are not available, then we will talk to NABH. We will talk to early level NABH. We will beat them immediately.
See, another thing is that when you talk about world over, when you talk about under the Act when it was revised, NTRC, that is the non-transplant retrieval centers, right? So it is not necessary always to have all the equipment at a center which is not going to be used, right? So probably if it is not required for clinical use. So like NTRC, in fact the world over what happens is that a team from a retrieval center, from a transplant center, goes to a retrieval center. And you only need basic facility in terms of a good OR.
That is for
retrieval. I'm just coming to that.
If I tell the family, I'm not sure about the death, I'm going to call doctors from outside who are going to declare whether he's dead or not. I'm in a fix because I'm a doctor. I'm supposed to tell my patient whether he's alive or not. I can't tell them.
I'll tell you on the lines probably. I think the entire statement which I was trying to make, because we have, the government has made for forensic expert, right? Like in medical legal cases, post-mortem, till now what is happening is that after the retrieval has been done, which has been allowed by the forensic expert, the body goes to the post-mortem center and it is done the next day. Now what the government has allowed is that that forensic expert will go to the theatre, complete the remaining post-mortem at the same center so that the body can be handed over to the relative. So I'm just coming
that is for which medical legal cases?
for medical legal cases
Medical.
after donation after brainstem death or brain death. So I was just coming to the point that you were talking. So one of the things that they've done is that it was discussed that what is it that you want in terms of, because again, let me tell you, whatever I'm speaking in my personal capacity, because I think otherwise for government you have to speak to the government people. But what I'm just saying is then
You
the
speak
forensic experts, they talked about that because thorax and abdomen is already open, limbs they would examine, what they need is a craniotome. So it was discussed and decided that craniotome, some of the smaller hospitals obviously may not have, and if they don't have a neurosurgeon, so the forensic expert can bring. So you know what IMA can do, and I'm sure that IMA is such a strong body, ably led by you. I think you can provide a mechanism, a support system, because I feel sad to see that in Delhi we have only a handful non-transplant retrieval centers, and with the way like you are starting this campaign, this number can really multiply, and the IMA can provide that support. Because you know, it is not fair, and as per the law also, once you declare a person brainstem dead, you are maintaining for your own, the recipient's needs. So he should not be charged, and most of the hospitals will waive off those charges. And the government, Noto, I think probably they have they have a scheme in which they had announced in one of the earlier meetings that they will compensate the hospital, the retrieving hospital, for the cost incurred in the retrieval process, because obviously you use the theatre time, you maintain the donor for that period of time. So I think what we are saying is that, and certainly I would again repeat that, because in this, the sensitivity of people, the conviction of all the caregivers.
Okay, we will come back. We will come back to this. Let's quickly answer some rapid fire.
Right.
Some rapid fire. Let's finish. So, in a person who is heart dead, we can donate cornea up to how many hours? 6 hours.
I think it's 6 hours, but I think the sooner the better.
What else we can donate?
No, see,
in a heart dead
it
person.
depends on if there's a cardiac death. If it is immediately, like there's a donation after cardiac death, right? In that even kidneys can be retrieved. Most often the liver time is very limited, so I mean you try to retrieve that, but only when you are fully geared up. The way DCD happens in the rest of the world is that once the family has agreed, they withdraw support, which is not allowed in the Indian law. So in the Maastricht criteria, there are various kinds of donation after cardiac death. We can only talk about what we can have donation of solid organs only after cardiac death, which is kind of witnessed in the hospital, right? Whereas in the, like I told you, the UK system or the US system, in which they withdraw and
Just talk about only Indian system.
right. So I mean, I'm just saying
so
that
in a cardiac death, you can give cornea.
organs and tissues, and how soon you go in, you can take tissues like skin, you can take
skin we can.
Skin you can take, bone you can take,
Bone we can.
bone you can take, heart, yeah. So I think
So
all
bone,
these, and if,
bone,
I
skin.
mean, mostly people don't go in. Yeah. So I think.
I want to try to say. So that means every death, there are 250 deaths in Delhi. Okay, average, because that's the economics of where they say 200 to 250 deaths in Delhi every day. Okay, but I don't think so. We are collecting 250 cornea.
No, we
I
are
don't think
not.
we are collecting any skin,
No.
very few, and we are not collecting any bone.
So I think that
So-
is what
so
I think
therefore-
the system
therefore-
is getting geared up.
Therefore, we need to do something.
Yes, absolutely.
What IMA can do, we need an answer.
Yes.
Here, what IMA can do in every death, what can we do? Have we made, is it not present in every commission ground?
In the commission?
Yes.
No, you can't do it at that time within the hospital.
That's
I
the
mean,
time
for
when,
public awareness.
that's the time when everybody, because the public will say, इसकी तो नहीं बचा पाया, next time याद रखूंगा. Because you're getting sensitized people at
I
that
understand
particular
what
moment.
you're trying to
You're
say.
getting people who are sensitized, hit the iron
I
man with
think,
his
I
heart.
think there are certain.
That's one. The second thing is, so we need to do something at this level to create awareness that everywhere.
One of the things that the government was, both the central and the state were looking at was that in some states it has already been implemented. At back of the
Hmm.
at the back of at the back of your driving license, like some of the countries follow that. In some of the states it is there.
Donations.
Right. It is certain. It is said that whether you agree to be an organ donor, and that actually
I'm saying
works more like public
suppose-
awareness.
I'm only trying to say is that public
No, your point is well taken.
is
You're
ready.
absolutely,
I'm saying,
you're absolutely
I'm
right.
saying, suppose 250 people are ready every day.
Yes.
Do we have the facility to
Yes,
collect
we have-
250
yeah,
every day?
Yeah. Corneas, lot of corneas are being collected, and I'm sure 250 corneas collected is not
Skin and bone.
Yeah. I mean, skin and bone, we'll have to ask them because we need to increase the number of skin and bone banks. Because at the moment, skin bank, only one bank at the Safdarjung Hospital has just been initiated.
Hospital and bone.
Bone, All India Institute, it's in the process.
Bone control.
So,
Now we come back to the brain death, which are the organs.
yeah, brain death, usually it's the liver, the kidneys, maybe I said liver first because I'm a surgeon, but there is heart with lungs, pancreas at times, and in some given situations, if required and matching etc., you can do the small bowel.
Is there
But
a
mostly liver, kidney, and the pancreas, and of course each of the organs have their own criteria.
Is it allowed under the rules to have a retrieval service in the private sector?
Yes. Yes.
No. Privately owned retrieval service. Hey, I call up a private sector, they come and retrieve the organs and they keep it.
No. They can't keep it.
Keep it means they give it wherever they want.
Yeah.
Apart from Noto.
See, at the moment, what is there are transplant centers, right? Transplant center automatically becomes a multi-organ retrieval center also. Whereas there are some centers which may have facilities for retrieving an organ, but they do not have either the expertise or transplant. So in those situations, I'm coming to that. In those situations, the team or the surgeon goes from a transplant center, retrieves that there, and depending on whatever is your state or the regional policy about allocation of organs, that is distributed.
Okay, what is that policy?
That for different organs it is different. At the moment for Delhi it's Noto which is doing that, and whereas like Maharashtra they have their own.
So if there is, suppose a person has donated 6 organs today, so it goes to the registry?
Yeah, I mean, see, I tell you, it is being built up. We are better off than what we were last year.
I'm talking about the rules. Rules may, so I call, say, a hospital, they come and retrieve all the organs. I said, you can use one will go there, one will go there.
You are not the ones who's going to decide.
Who
And
is
in
going to
Indian law, you cannot even have a directed donation because then we open to
Okay, so no direct donation.
Like there was a case earlier, it was coming, like say, I would say that I am very close to him.
No, I'm only going to say, suppose my relation says that I want all the 6 donations to be done.
Right. Yeah.
That much I can say.
Yeah.
Will all the 6 will be done?
Yes, it will be done.
And they will.
It will be done depending on if all organs are suitable.
Obviously.
Yes.
Obviously.
So I think, and time permitting in terms of.
Yes, so I can allow. So then 6 teams will come.
Not always 6 teams because that
A
depends.
couple of teams will come.
See the solid organ. Usually, like there will be maybe three teams which are coming, like for the heart, for the liver, and for the kidney. Sometimes the liver team itself, like in world over, in some of the countries, it's a liver team which retrieves the kidneys also. But here, mostly the teams are separate. So the kidney.
I'm talking very simple field problems.
Right.
So I called a retrieval team. The retrieval team has come from a hospital.
Right.
They only need a heart.
Yes.
They don't need others.
Yes.
What happens to others?
So this is coordinated because this happens because there's a transplant coordinator in each of the centers, whether the transplant or the
Another team will come from another hospital.
Yes, it may be from the same hospital, it may be from a different hospital. Depending on, usually what would happen is that depending on whose turn it is to take that organ, it might be a good idea to call that team only.
Now I am a donor.
Yeah.
Suppose I am a donor. I may not be informed by law where my organ is gone.
It won't be there.
I may not be informed by the law, but am I informed that my organ has been used?
Yes. That can be.
And it has not been a failure.
No, that will not. That is not good to, because that may unnecessarily lead to
bad image.
So just my information I get.
I think the people who want to come forward and donate for the next of their, for their near relatives, and I think they have that, because obviously this is a kind of a real, I would say, an activity which is kind of selfless, because the person who's gone, you have come to terms with that grief, and then sometime with the wishes of that person, or sometime if that person had not expressed any wish, either pro or con, then you as a family took a decision to donate those organs. So they would be satisfied in knowing that, in time the organs were retrieved and passed on to the centers, to the needy people, whoever was dying because of liver, kidney or...
But I think there is a criteria that you have to give your organ to the person who is first on the waiting list. Is that
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
When
what
the
he said
registry,
was,
central registry is very important.
So that is what I said, that it has, I think Noto has done a lot of efforts in the last few years, and it is coming into shape at that National Organ Transplant Program. So they have Noto, Soto, and regional. So they have the mandate to maintain the waiting list and other things, and they have different organs, they have different criteria, because I don't want to go into the logistics of the organ sharing, because that it itself is a vast subject, because in US it may be a little different from because you can't have people flying for whether it should be person specific or whether it should be center specific. So there are a lot of issues in that, but I think one thing which is taken as in most of the countries is that it's a national resource. It is also irrespective of whether the patient can afford or not. I'm not going again to the social aspects of the transplant thing, but the issue is that this allocation is irrespective of anything. And even if the person says that give it to X, you
can't do that. And it is also...
And in fact, you don't even share.
It is their criteria that the national... Indian national will get first.
That is a criteria. That is well laid out. That it is very clearly laid out that based on the waiting list, and of course it is the Indian national
first,
and the state first, then the region, then the national, and if there are no takers, obviously you don't want the organ or the tissue to go waste, then you can go to it. And I think the same way, even in, like say in UK, there are 7 transplant centers, and only after all 7 have refused can it go to a foreigner. Right.
So I will slightly divert for a few minutes. Okay. In Mahabharata there is a mention of a dialogue between Bhim and Yudhishthira.
Right.
Okay. So one day Bhim asked Yudhishthira some questions. And Yudhishthira said, I'm tired, I'll tell you tomorrow. You know what happened? Bhim started celebrating with joy, happiness. He said, let's celebrate. So everybody asked him that, why are you celebrating? He said, Yudhishthira never speaks a lie.
Okay.
He says, कल बात करेंगे, इसका मतलब है today night we are going to live. He said,
okay, right.
We don't know
but
I
hope you are not referring to that you'd ask me a question which I have no answer and I'll say I'll answer.
No. What I am trying to say is, if you go back to our Indian mythology, death is not a grief. Somewhere we as medical doctors and IMA need to come back. Death is not a grief. Because this grief has been made by our modern system of medicine. If you go to the Vedic scriptures, grief is not death is not a grief. Because you have to live every day of your life. You have to enjoy every day of your life. You don't know what will happen to you tomorrow. So you should be thankful that whatever years he has lived. So if we do that, if we change our perception, that our counseling gets changed, then we say you are keeping him alive in another organ.
That's
so therefore.
Sorry, I was
grief can become
zero.
Your
first point, but then maybe
grief can become a zero. You can convert grief into joy by donating the organs.
I would just, right, but I would just modify that just a little bit because, in terms of grief, when you talk about, I mean, death, because we all are
Sudden death is a
social.
grief.
No, we are the social. Even when it is not sudden, whenever you lose your near and dear one, irrespective of age, irrespective of how connected or this thing, it's a grief. Now, what you are talking about is, can we retrieve a part of, I wouldn't say joy, but solace from that grief, that at least let me have this thing that my relative has given life to some other person, and even though his heart, like there was a very nice, somebody had on WhatsApp had sent that the heartbeat that you were saying. So then, though of course in Indian it's also not allowed that you can't go to the donor family or the recipient family, but that gives a joy. But this thought itself that the organs are given sight to somebody, has saved a liver failure patient, has saved a cardiac failure patient. So that solace can be, maybe they can have some kind of, because certainly, like I'll tell you, like I trained in UK, and we would at that time, because when we were initiated to that, we would really admire. There was a 7-year-old girl who died, and as you said, sudden death. And I think it was so touching that within a few hours, they were able to come to terms with that grief. And they said, no, we want to donate, and all organs or tissues that are possible, so that it will give some life to, she was always full of life. That is what the transplant coordinator conveyed to us. That is the kind of thing, as you rightly said, and in terms of, that is a philosophical thing. I mean, A may be satisfied at 40 years, B may not be satisfied at 70 years or 80 years or 90 years.
So,
that is a...
Unless this program of the government will fail, is a failure as of today. Okay, and will fail.
I
Just
won't say that.
Till 100% of us, the MBBS doctors, pledge for donation. Charity begins at home. Unless if the doctor's family says,
and in this,
no,
IMA can really play a big role. And
if by 100% of the doctors pledge,
yeah.
the scenario will change. How to do it?
See, I'll tell you, two things. One is, as you very rightly said, and in fact, we day in, day out, we have to fight more ignorance of doctors.
That's what I'm saying.
Not the ignorance of the, because a lot of people who have who don't have misconceptions, like unlearn and learn wali baat hai. So
So
can
you are
explain
here
that.
in charge of chairman of Delhi Transplant Cell.
Sorry?
You are
Delhi
in the
Organ
state
Transplant
transplant cell, you undertake.
No, that is actually, the thing is that it's the appropriate authority is the secretary.
No. Awareness. When it comes to awareness, who does it?
No, that there are various things, and the government, this thing would be.
Suppose we take Delhi as a test market. Okay. So you, on our behalf, now you represent IMA. Now you are not representing Delhi government.
No,
At
even
this
till
moment-
now also I was not representing Delhi
At this moment, you are
government. I am talking about
IMA.
whatever I know about
Yeah, till now you are
organization,
professor. Till now you are a professor. Now you are a IMA.
as a doctor,
As a
part of
doctor.
IMA, yes.
Whom can we meet?
I'll tell you.
Yes.
Yes.
We can come out with a campaign
Right.
for Delhi doctors as a test market.
Right.
Okay. We can say 6 weeks campaign.
Right.
Okay. And then we try to see how many of them signed
Yes.
only for doctors. We come out with social ad, paper ad, doctors ad, SMS, writing a letter to them,
Yes.
coming out with something. And let's target 75% of the doctors in 6 weeks. If they can sign their, so what will happen next is they will be aware, they have signed, okay? Then we can compare, then after the 6 weeks, we can come out with a public campaign, okay? Say for example, National President, National Secretary, Delhi President, Delhi Secretary, and 13 branches President and Secretaries. We are standing and we give a common appeal with you and other people, and it says, we have pledged, have you?
Yes. I mean, that is
So-
a very significant thing that you'll be doing if as IMA.
No, if we
and
do,
yeah.
then somebody need to bear the cost of, not the campaign, of cost of SMS, cost of email, cost of this,
All that.
who will help us out? Whom to approach?
Probably you can talk to the government.
No, no, who?
Meet the health secretary
Health
or the health minister.
So you take time from the health secretary. We
I
all
think that-
collectively can
But,
go and
I
talk.
think I'll tell you because I think they are all looking at it in a positive way. And at this part, I can
I'm only trying to say is that I'm only looking for where are we doing mistakes. So
Right.
I need to convince my doctors first.
Yes.
If I can convince my doctors, your rate will increase. So
Yeah, I
doctors
mean,
need to
like
catch.
probably an information kind of mail, etc.
Yes,
Everything
that will
that
do,
you
that will
talk,
do.
those things can go to the.
See,
and I think that will go a long way.
say for example, openly I speak to everybody. I have declared that if I die, no grief. It has to be joy. You celebrate and then go for donation. Doctors have to
Yeah,
come
I mean,
forward.
I
Doctors have
again,
to
you
come
know,
forward.
because with the
No, no, no.
I
I'm not-
mean, no, I'm not talking about you, but anybody. I mean,
I
you
still
cannot-
feel doctors, if doctors don't change their perception, public will not.
that is true.
This is what I'm trying to say. The doctors have to change the perception. They have to, they
Yeah,
need
I
to
mean,
learn.
in that regard, I think because it is obviously 100% voluntary, and obviously you cannot have any coercion or you cannot have. You are
Okay.
only making them aware, and I think
Talking
an
about
aware doctor
doctors-
can make them aware.
Doctors
Public.
pledging will be the IMA campaign.
Absolutely. Yes.
Will be the IMA campaign. Let's talk to the Delhi government, let's talk to the central government, and let's try to see if we can do it as a
How we can
campaign.
go ahead.
If we can go ahead and do it as a campaign, the scenario will
That
change.
would
Because if I ask Apollo or Fortis, anybody will sponsor this. I don't want them. I want to do it independent of a neutral campaign, and I think the scenario.
No, it has
will
to
change.
be. It has to be government supported, government driven, which I would say. But and as professionals, the IMA can really, have the best kind of.
So we still have 10 minutes. Let's pick up now. You tell
I think
what are the things which
maybe-
doctor should know?
Yeah. I think.
First, I would like to have one clarification because what I have read, when you're declaring a brain death patient, the patient should be reviewed after 6 hours by a second team, not the
No, same team.
Same.
You just, make. I mean, even though there is no, like even some countries it is not mandated like
I'm
that.
talking about India.
But here what happened was, and I think when we had some word with some of the people who were drafted at that time, because Dr. Nandi, Dr. Singhi, the lawyer, I think all these people were involved. And one of the things was because it was a nascent beginning in 1994. And because, there would always be that skepticism that, as you said, that, are they're continuing to build despite the person being brainstem dead. So similarly, there might be that, is it that, you might have declared brainstem death where actually it was not, like as you said in some of the other alternate medicines also. So for that, a full proof, or maybe they went a step ahead. So they said, one, of course, that nobody who has got any interest with the transplant in terms of course, all of us have interest in because it is going to save lives, but not as part of the transplant team. And the people who are called in to declare brainstem death, so they are not part of the team, and you do it at 2 times, even though the experts which are called will not make an error or interpretation, but whatever it is, just that 6 hour time is again given to reconfirm that, because in some modes of death you may get something. So that has been
So I'm
really
going to
done.
spend next 7 minutes.
I was also thinking that maybe 1 or 2 messages also can
Yes.
be given, but anyway.
Oh, go ahead.
No, that's fine. You ask the question and as it comes to my mind. I'll just
So
say.
I just want to touch one more thing which blames the medical profession is living transplant with regard to emotional, that I'm emotionally attached.
Right.
I'm not talking about people who are related. Say somebody is working in IMA and I'm the national president, I need it, he offers as my worker.
See,
or
I
as
think
my
in that, maybe before answering that question, you raised a very good point in the sense that why there is a cadaver, the need which is there. Because we all know as doctors, as surgeons and other things that no surgery, no procedure is without a risk, right? When you do a living related or unrelated living and an emotionally attached person transplant, it is a surgery that you are performing on a perfectly healthy individual to give life to somebody else.
Absolutely.
So there is a finite risk which is important. I would say that okay, that's not that great. So in the balance, but it is there. So most of the countries have a well-developed cadaveric program so that most donors come from cadavers. And even in only those which have a long waiting list, depending on your blood group, depending on your need and all those, maybe go for living-related transplant. So we need to push that, and IMA and several other bodies can, and the government of course, can push on those lines, because at the moment we have a very dismal, and in fact I would say that it is still, it has come on the radar. Our is 0.58. I think recently the Noto released those figures, and 0.58, 770 retrievals, 770 donors in the last year or something, which comes to 0.5 per million. Whereas in Spain, which leads the thing, it is between 35 to 40 or even more. UK and other countries are, I mean, closer to them, but we have a long way to go. And because some countries like Japan initially had a higher percentage of living related because their cadaver law was not in place. Now once their cadaver law came, they are also trying to push the cadaver organ transplant. But in India, after 1994, 95, which has been so many years, it's been more than 2 decades. Unfortunately, it's only recently that I think some of the southern states have done better than Delhi. But I think and I feel strongly that Delhi has got the potential, and IMA with, with your support, with your leadership and everything, I think in Delhi we can have, like as you said, that the number of deaths or number of the brainstem death, if we can harvest from most most suitable donors, then I think we'll have enough to cater to the needs of our city. I mean, it may not always, it will be enough, but still we will have to have a significant number of patients which can be saved, because there are so many people dying of liver failure or renal failure and cardiac failure. And if you look at, like, the cardiac transplant cannot, of course the only option is cadaveric. So you cannot have a living related. Liver, you have a living related, but the living related liver is a little at a higher risk than renal, because obviously depending on the magnitude of the procedure. But I think we have some very fantastic, we are leading the way in the sense that there are quite a few centers in our country which are doing as good as anywhere in the world living related transplant, which is bringing relief to a lot of people, and we are able to save lives. But however, we hope that with your, all that campaign that you run, probably in years to come, maybe let's say 2 years, 3 years down the line, or maybe at least 5, maybe at the most 5 years, we are in a situation that we have lesser need to go to living related, and more of our needs are met with cadaveric because there is no risk.
All those people who are listening, for doctors, pledge your organs today. You can go to IMA website. There is a program called I Pledge My Organs, IPMO, and you can search it and you can pledge your organs. You can pledge your organs with Noto, and that websites are available. So pledge. We want that 75% of the doctors of IMA members should pledge their organs. 1. 2. Not only themselves. If there's somebody in the family who needs it, pledge for them also, that you should be able to offer the organs at the first instance. That's 1. 2. Puchna mat bhulo. Required request, which is mandatory. At the time of death, it is a duty. It is a mandatory duty. As though MCI today is not taking action, but sooner or later the complaints will come. Somebody will give a complaint that I was not asked, and that may amount to professional misconduct. So mandatory request at a death, whether it's a heart death or a brain death, you need to talk about the donations of the organs. 3rd, always keep a number of in your local vicinity, have the number of retrieval team, so that you know the number, you can call and the team can come and retrieve the organs if you don't have a retrieval team. So it is very necessary for every small IMA nursing home or a small hospital to know that number. I don't know whether government has a centralized retrieval number or not. Do they have at a national level?
Yeah, at national level it is there.
It's a Noto number. Yes. National number, Noto number is there. You can call them. They can help you. They can guide you. But IMA only wants one thing. Nobody should die just because an organ was not available. With so many people dying every day, 250 only in the city of Delhi. No, nobody should die just because an organ was not available. When so many, because every time your organs are being cremated, are being burned, because no option was given to the family. Let's convert the grief into a solace. Let's convert the grief into a joy. If somebody asks me,
Joy for some family, yeah. Yes,
Joy
joy
for
for
the
the family.
yes, somebody asks me how long you want to live. So I always say, I want to live after my death, which can be done by two things. A, do your good karmas so that people remember you. But you can also live after your death physically in somebody's heart, in somebody's liver, in somebody's kidney, in somebody's pancreas, in somebody's bone, and you can be a lifesaver. That's all for today. Let's thank both Dr. Anil and
Yeah.
Dr.
Just
Tandon to be here with us.
I can
And
just show a
yes,
compendium because Delhi government had done a program in 2014 and this compendium was brought in which contains all the rules and the information. So if you want, I will send you a soft copy
Yes.
so that you can dissipate among all the IMA members. So they will
Absolutely.
be in the know of all the, because this contains all the act, rules and some frequently asked questions. So I think this will be a very useful thing. So I think that.
That's all for today. We'll come back next Thursday with another topic. Till that, goodbye. Thank you.